This is Whispers, a perk with an exceptionally low pick rate, and I decided to find out why. Today, I'll be playing 10 games with Whispers to determine if it has any useful applications, and after I have finished my 10 games, I'll be rating it on a scale of 1 to 10. So, if you guys do enjoy the video, please hit the like button, subscribe, do what do, not sit back, relax, and enjoy the video, everybody. Game 1, first game, trying out Whispers, and for whatever reason, I decided to go with the zaniest build imaginable. Just look at this. Strider? Why did I equip Strider? Is it because they look similar? I don't know what I was thinking. This build is awful. Just straight up terrible. And for whatever reason, I decided to play Deathslinger with Whispers, which did not work at all. I don't know what was going through my head. It was really, really dumb. And just to make everything even worse, I also got Raccoon City Police Station. Because, of course I did. What else would I get? Okay, you know what? I'll just make it short for you guys. This game sucked. It did not go well for obvious reasons. My build, pretty useless. Whispers didn't really get any value out of it because my problem wasn't finding people. It was landing a shot with my spear gun. Seriously, I don't know what it was. I could not land a shot to save my life, nor could I end a chase to save my life. It was just bad. It was a bad time. I'll give this team a little credit. They were also pretty good, but I just played like garbage. It was a bad time. I mean, admittedly, this was my first game of the day, but even still, man, this was just sad. Just really, really sad. So let's just go to the next one. Game 2, I decided that, okay, Deathslinger is obviously not going to work here, so let's give Wraith a shot. And I did, and to be honest, things weren't much different. I mean, I played better, but that wasn't really because of the perk. Actually, I'd argue that my build was slightly better, and that's probably why I played a little better, but yeah, Whispers got very, very, very little value here, right up until the end, but before that, not a whole lot. I mean, I got a little value right at the beginning, because I'm like, hey, Whispers isn't active, so I know they're not in this general area. And I also didn't really know a lot about Whispers either at this point. I mean, I had a general idea of what it did, like, you know, if you're close by, entity Whispers, but I didn't know a few caveats. Like, for example, those Whispers include someone who's hooked, which is really stupid. Like, why? That's utterly, like, if you hook somebody, and you're within 32 meters of them, the Whispers is still going to remain active. Which is a really dumb caveat, because that makes the perk pretty useless. Like, if you even want to keep an eye on your hook, you have to keep that in mind. Which, I mean, I guess that discourages phase camping, which is good, but man, it makes the perk so much worse. But either way, I didn't get any value out of it, really. Right up until the very end, where these guys were able to power on the doors, and it was kind of a 1v1 situation where the other three were able to escape. But thanks to Whispers, I was able to determine which door the last guy was going to, and I was able to sit there angrily, and I was able to secure the kill. That's really the only whisper value I got this game, but it was something. And without Whispers, I genuinely think I would not have gotten this kill. So, you know what? I'll take it. Game 3, and I did something rather unprecedented. I decided to use my brain. I thought to myself, okay, who would work well with a perk that provides you information such as there is someone in your general area, do something about it. And the only person I could think of was Doctor with Static Blast. And I'm like, okay, let's try the combo out. Whispers plus Static Blast. So anytime Whispers went active, I'd use Static Blast, and the combo actually works surprisingly well. Pretty much anytime Whispers is active, you're free to use Static Blast, and you're almost guaranteed to get value out of it. So Whispers gives you a general idea, while Static Blast gives you an exact location of where they are, and it actually works fairly well. Like, surprisingly well. I'd say it's actually a decent combination. Now, granted, there were a few goldfish IQ plays I made this game, mostly because I didn't fully understand what Whispers, like, I didn't really know how it all worked. Like, for example, I'd hook someone, and I see Whispers is still active, and I'd be like, oh, someone else is nearby. I'd use Static Blast, and then I'd be really confused because why is there no one else around? Turns out Whispers also includes people who are hooked. So if Whispers is active, and there's someone hooked right next to you, it could very well mean that they're just talking about the guy on the hook. So I learned that this game, which, yeah, I wish I would have learned that a little earlier, because that would have been very, very helpful. But as for the game itself, I mean, this team was still pretty good. They weren't as good as the last two, but they were good enough to, you know, get the doors powered. I was able to snake in another elim, And right at the end of the game, thanks to Whispers, I was actually able to secure a second kill by, like, the skin of my teeth, and I walked out with a tie. So, once again, I can say that Whispers had some real value, and I think I found the killer I want to use Whispers with, because Doctor just kind of makes sense. So, I'm going to kind of keep experimenting, keep building on it, and just see where I end up. So, Game 4. So, important thing you know about Game 4 is I actually decided to do some research beforehand on Whispers of how it all worked, and this is the game where I officially realized I knew the exact range of it. I knew exactly what the whisper actually was, like the audio cue. Fun fact, it's not really a whisper, it's more of like a raspy groaning noise than a real whisper, but either way, I had a much, much better understanding of what the whisper did, and unfortunately, I got Wretched Shop, because Wretched Shop is where all good things go to die, and today was no exception. I played Doctor again because, I mean, I just think he's going to be the killer I'm going to be using from here on out because I feel like he works the best for this, and go figure, this team just so happened to be absolutely amazing at this game. They looped me, they teabagged me, they mocked me, they did generators insanely fast, and even though I had no ad, when the doors are powered, I got very little in the way of pressure. Did I say no ad? No ad, sorry. No one escapes death. You guys know what I'm talking about. Sorry. As for the Whispers, I got very little value out of it. Not because the Whisper didn't go off, but because when it did go off, I get what I like to call white noise, where there'd be a guy in a hook, and I see, you know, like one guy way off in the distance, and it's like, thanks, Whispers are telling me there's a guy that I'm staring at. I didn't know that. Really useful. This is also the game where I learned that open maps and Whispers don't really mix, because the information you get out of Whispers is pretty much useless, because if you can already see them, I mean, what's the point? So, yeah, Whispers got very, very, very little value out of this game, and the one time I could have gotten Whisper value, which is when the doors were powered and they were running towards it, I didn't utilize it because I didn't hear the audio cue. I didn't recognize the audio cue yet, and looking at the footage, it's painfully obvious that, hey, Whispers is active, or in this case, it was inactive, so they're obviously not over here. They're going to the other gate, you idiots! I didn't notice that because I was concentrated on the game, and the audio cue was, well, trash when I did get close to them. It was, yeah, overall was a bad time. Didn't really get much Whisper value here, so moving on. Game 5, and I decided that, you know what? Let's switch it up, and let's play Hillbilly. Now, my logic for playing Hillbilly here with Whispers is, okay, well, what if I chainsaw sprint, and every time I see Whispers light up, I'm like, okay, I'm in the general vicinity, so I stop my chainsaw sprint, take a look around, and ideally, I'd find somebody because I had landed in the right spot. And the tactic actually kind of worked. It was pretty effective, all things considered. Got a lot of pressure because of it, actually. It was really, really nice. And for once with Hillbilly, I was able to get some chainsaw value. Now, for those of you who watched my 100 games as killer, my Hillbilly skills has come a long way. I've come a long way since then, so, you know, this is not the same me who played Hillbilly last time. Let's just say that. And, yeah, I got some real chainsaw value here. I got a lot of good hits, got a lot of good, like, hooks. It was just generally good, but unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough, and this team was able to power the doors. So, endgame situation is looking like a one guy on hook, two guys at the exit, and then the other one's just dead. So, you know, that's pretty neat. And I was actually able to get some Whisper value here, right in the end game, where it really mattered. So I was able to determine that, hey, why is Whispers not active towards the gate? Oh, I know. They must be going for the save. And go figure, they were. And thus, I was able to intercept it in time, and I was able to get a down out of it. And, well, I still technically only got a tie out of this game. It probably wouldn't have been a tie without Whispers. So, hey, I'll take any win I can get here. So, moving on. Game 6, playing Legion. Now, the reason for the killer switch was mostly A, I was bored, and B, I was just kind of curious, because the thought process was, well, Whispers gives you a general idea of where someone is. Legion, his whole shtick is running around, bonking people with his knife, and then he gets killer instinct, and then he goes after them, and so on and so forth. So I figured that Whispers would be useful to, you know, be a catalyst of sorts to help me fulfill that goal, I suppose. And it didn't really do much. Early game, it was helpful. Early game, I was able to locate people because of it, because, you know, whenever Whispers is inactive, that means that no one is near you within, you know, a 48-meter radius, because I didn't have my perk upgraded for Legion, so I had to use the base perk, so it's not 32 meters, it's 48 meters, which, not ideal, but hey, I take what I can get. So, Whispers got a little value early game, but apart from that, I didn't really get much out of it. This team was really bad on top of that, so it's not like I really needed it. I think part of the reason why I got so little value is because I was literally constantly chasing somebody, and Whispers is not a chase perk, it's more of trying to find people, and when you're always chasing somebody, there's nothing to find, so I had a pretty easy time, and this team was really bad. Despite the fact that they had a P100 on their team, they were not very good. They got hooked a lot, they didn't get a lot of generators, they healed at all the wrong times, and this team just had a weird sense of priorities. Like, their unhooks were so weird and so bad, it was just, yeah, this team kind of played themselves, if I'm being honest. So, fast forward to the end game, and I get a little more Whisper value, because I'm able to determine, where the last one is. I will say, in, like, 1v1 situations, Whispers is extraordinarily useful, because you're able to figure out where they are, like, especially if it's a gate situation, where you have to figure out where the last one's going, whether it's hatch or gate. Whispers is extraordinarily helpful in, like, the 1v1 situations, so that was pretty neat, and go figure, it was very useful, and I was able to track in the last one, get him, and that is game. Game 7, and I am back to playing Doctor, and perk-wise, my Doctor build has not changed at all, but what did change was, A, the skill level of the players I was fighting, although they weren't slouches by any means, but they were a lot worse than the people I've been fighting, and second, the map I got. I got Raccoon City Police Station. Now, at first, I thought this was going to be an absolute nightmare, because Raccoon City Police Station is just a bad map for me in general. I mean, just look at how my Deathslinger game went. However, with the Doctor and Whisper combination, it's actually a pretty mean map, because the map is pretty small. At least, kind of small. Like, it's very compact, I should say. Small maybe isn't the right word. It's a very compact map. There's a lot of tight corners, hallways, and such. So, anytime Whispers is active, I just use a static blast, and I know exactly where they are. And since this map is so compact, generally speaking, there are multiple people within the same area, and I just get tons of static blast value. I mean, Whispers quite literally got me so much value just based on the stages of madness alone. I mean, it was insanity. This team was just, like, seeing double the entire game. It was insane. And, yeah, this team was really struggling with the whole madness epidemic thing I was creating, because they did not do well. They kind of got smoked, and I attribute that partly to the fact that, A, these guys weren't as good, but I also attribute that to the fact that my static blasts and my shocks were just absolutely immaculate. They were on point pretty much the entire game, and a huge part of that was because of Whispers. So this is the first game where I can genuinely say that Whispers was really helpful. Like, genuinely, really, really helpful. So I got nothing but good things to say. This team kind of got dunked on, all things considered, so you know what? I'll take my win, and I'll move on. Game 8. So, Game 8, I played Doctor yet again. However, I did some tweaking to my build. I decided to add Spies from the Shadows. Now, for those of you who do not know what Spies does, all it does is anytime you're within a 20-meter radius, a crow goes off and says, hey, the guy is over here. So, it's basically just another informational perk, very similar to Whispers, except I'd argue a lot more specific. And I decided to throw that on with my build. And the reason for that was I had developed a little bit of a theory, and this theory I like to call the onion of information. In the first layer of the onion, there is the Whispers. Whispers are active within anyone. Whenever someone's within 32 meters of you, it's active. Then, the second layer of the onion, there's Static Blast, which gives you an exact location of where they are in that exact moment. Then, in the third layer, there's Spies from the Shadows, which tells you where they're heading, because if you start walking towards them, a crow will go off and say, hey, they're going this way. And then the fourth layer is just your eyeballs. I mean, you have functioning eyes. Use them. So that was kind of the theory behind this build, and it actually worked for once. Most of my plans usually end in horrible disaster, but this worked really, really well. Like, weirdly well. The Whisper's Static Blast combo was already proven at this point. It worked immaculately this game. It also helped that I got Raccoon City Police Station again. I don't know how that happened, but it just kind of did. But anyway, Static Blast plus Whispers is just a good combo. Not even going to debate that. It's just a good combo. And on top of that, Spies in the Shadows actually did work too. Like, it worked. Like, the theory I laid out actually kind of panned out. Like, it was weird. I was constantly chasing somebody. You know those games of Dead by Daylight when you're playing Killer and you're just kind of aimlessly wandering around looking for something to do? Yeah, this was not one of those games. I was constantly busy because I had so much information pouring in that I just didn't even, like, I was never idle. I was always chasing somebody. And on top of all this information that I already had, with Doctor, since I was able to get so much Stages of Madness, I was able to get a lot of people to tier 3, that's when people start seeing images of me that I can also see, which also gives me their location. So I just had so much information to work with. I knew where they were at all times. It was absolutely amazing. I was constantly chasing. I was constantly getting hooks, constantly getting downs. I constantly knew where they were. It was great. And it worked out really, really well because despite the fact this team was way better in chase than I was, I just knew where they went. I always knew where they were. It was absolutely fantastic, and this game went beautifully. I'd argue it almost went perfectly. So, overall, great game. Moving on. Game 9. So, Game 9, I decided to add even more to my build. I decided to add Nurse's Calling, and yeah, that in hindsight, that was definitely a mistake, because Nurse's Calling does not add much on paper, if I'm being honest. It doesn't really give me much in the information onion, because Nurse's Calling is very, very situational. It can be good, but most of the time, it's not particularly great. As for my, perk, the main perk of the day, Whispers, I got a little bit of value out of this game. Early game especially, I was able to, locate people, but I faced one tiny, insignificant problem. This team was just better. They were just better than I was. I got wrecked. They juked me, they looped me, they were just better at the game. Those games where you were just utterly outclassed? This was one of those games, man. There were like 3 prestige 60s on their team, and they had all the sweaty add-ons. It was just not going well for me. And long story short, they are 4 generators in, and I have 0 hooks. It was not a good time. I was able to get some pressure towards the end, and thankfully, I may not have gotten hooks, but I was able to get tons of static blast value, because my problem wasn't finding these guys, it was actually hitting them. Because these guys all had proper Stages of Madness at this point. The problem was I just couldn't hit any of them to save my life. It was really, really irritating, and I didn't really get much in the way of value right up until the very end. And honestly, I could describe to you how this ending went, but I think I'm just going to show you the footage here, because it's kind of a crazy series of events that went down here. So I'm just going to let you guys watch. Just kind of the point, although Shaq just so happens to be right here. I might be able to snake this, though. I do get that. We do hit that. Really? Are you kidding me right now? All right, you know what? Fine. Okay, that's 99. I want to get this guy, too. Uh-oh, that's not a real pallet. Uh-oh. Better get out of here. Oh, wait, what? Okay, that was quick. How? What? You got up instantly. All right. What? Come on, come on. Oh, that's garbage, and you all know it. Get them all out. What? How? They both die-harded there. Man, what a sweaty team. God, man. Yeah, I never stood a chance. These guys were just objectively better than me, and GG to them. I mean, GG overall to these guys. They were obviously good. They knew what they were doing, but man, did it not feel good for me. So, moving on. Game 10, Doctor, again, surprisingly, I know. And I decided to get rid of Nurse's Calling, because Nurse's Calling did not do anything for me last time. I mean, granted, the team was also just cracked at the game, but still, I don't think Nurse's Calling was going to help. I decided to swap it out with Enduring, because, I mean, you're almost guaranteed to get value with Enduring, so that's what I did. And, unfortunately, I got the Thompson House. Now, the problem with this map is Whispers plus Static Blast combo doesn't really work on this map, because it's too dang open. Like, the whole point is you need to be within 30 meters to actually get a Static Blast off, but when every single survivor can see you coming from 100 miles away, that doesn't really matter much. And unfortunately, my Whisper / Static Blast combo just didn't work. It was not panning out the way I would have liked, and like I said, the map played a huge part in that, and I just didn't get a lot of Static Blast value this game. As for the team itself, I mean, this team was pretty darn good. I mean, they weren't as good as the last guys by any stretch, but they were no slouches they were not slouches either. It was a pretty rough game. And on top of that, Spies in the Shadows, which is a perk that generally does pretty okay on its own, was also completely useless this game because this map is just so dang open that all the information you get from it is just bad. It's useless information that you don't need. So 2 of my perks this game were essentially useless, which was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, it showed. This team kind of smoked me overall. They got gens really fast. I didn't get a lot of pressure. I mean, granted, I did get some, but it was nowhere near as much as I would have liked. And fast forward to the end game, one guy's dead, and after a ridiculously embarrassing chase that I do on this one poor guy who's just looping me in that stupid farming tractor thing, or slash bulldozer, I got looped for like 2 minutes. Man, I freaking hate that loop. That loop sucks. That loop is genuinely the most annoying thing ever, so yeah, I lost. It was not a good time, and I learned a valuable lesson about whispers that day. Whispers in open maps, just don't do it. It never works. Just don't bother. Please just don't. So, yeah, let's go to the conclusion of this video. So, what did we learn about whispers today? So, first things first, whispers is not completely and utterly useless as I first anticipated. It actually has some real use. Now, admittedly, I'll be the first to admit, the perk is extraordinarily flawed. For example, if you're on an open map and you're playing pretty much anyone that isn't Doctor, yeah, you're probably not going to get much value out of him. Out of it. And yeah, I'll admit, that's definitely a bit of a hurdle, but if you can get past that and, you know, you're a Doctor player, I think Whispers wouldn't be the worst addition to your build. Now, let me justify this a little bit. Whispers does 2 things very, very well. First thing it does well is it's a great combo with Static Blast. Anytime Whispers is active, you pop a Static Blast and you know exactly where they are. Second major thing it's good at is those 1v1 situations at the end, in the end game or really early game, where, you know, you spawn in and you see Whispers isn't active, you know, okay, they didn't spawn near me, so let's go looking. And the second you see Whispers gets active, you can go looking. Or in the end game, where, you know, it's a 1v1, you're trying to find the last survivor that's looking for hatch or going towards a door and whatnot, it can also be extraordinarily useful because you can narrow down your search pretty quick and you're going to know when you're pretty much on top of them. So overall, I think Whispers is a little underrated. Now, I'm not saying it's a meta perk by any stretch. No. It's not great by any means. But if I were to rank it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say that it's a 3. Now, maybe that's a little generous, I'll admit. But if you have the right killer for the job and you're just like somewhat lucky with your map selection, it can be really good. You can actually get some real value out of it. Now, it's not perfect. I already mentioned its flaws numerous times already, but I think in the right situation, it can really work. And it can absolutely win you games if you pay attention to it and if you utilize it correctly. So overall, that's my analysis of Whispers, and you're more than welcome to disagree with me in the comments, but that's what I'm going to rank it. So if you guys did enjoy the video, please hit the like button, subscribe, do what it is do. On that note, stay strong, stay clear. Spitfire out.